makes you think that you have won, when the battle has only just begun? Let the punishment fit the crime. Bad things come to those in all good time. My mistake was to put you first. Deceitful bubble was so soon to burst. I asked you, believing in just us. Now my faith lie in mine own justice. How many times must I say I'm not sorry? And how many ways can I show I don't care? Rotting bodies of enemies cannot smell sweet enough to me. What is the price of a friend who would carry out revenge? In this bleak world of absent laws, one in which the just are whores, and honor to die for the truth. Eye for an eye, tooth for tooth. How many times must I say I'm not sorry? And how many ways can I show I don't care? How many times must I say I'm not sorry? And how many ways can I show I don't care? How many times must I say I'm not sorry? And how many ways can I show I don't care? How many times must I say I'm not sorry? And how many ways can I show I don't care?
Hello, and welcome once again to the Dr. Zeero Xiron Free Magic Secrets Show, where we investigate all forms of magic. We talk about all kinds of things and stuff. We talk about the cool music I've been making with Suno. We talk about the cool book I wrote called Apex Unhinged, and we talk about all the different explorations of various conversations going on in the occult world today, and all the different people on YouTube and such. And this is one of those like mind awake, body asleep moments, or maybe it's the other way around and I can't really figure out body awake, mind asleep, whatever it is. But I felt like I had some time before I work. And it's one of those moments where, like, you know, in a mundane sense, I blew through every last dime I had yesterday, and I finally just got paid today, and I haven't checked what it is. So it's like one of those moments where you get to reset. And seeing a lot of things that are going on, a big reset, everyone's resetting, I think. That seems to be the message that's been triggering. So about reset and starting not necessarily from scratch. Now, I wanted to, I guess, talk about a number of semi-connected things. So this will be a bit of a ranty episode, but getting to a starter point. I had made videos in the past about like magical dating and magical pitfalls and magical hygiene and all these different subjects. And I would like to talk more about magical hygiene in a little bit here. But I keep mentioning that when you get deep into magic, you're likely going to end up alone. And you have to understand, as an initiatory thing, even if you're grouped around people with like-minded ideas and shit, your path is unique to you, and it is the path of a loner. You have to be a loner to follow the magical path. You have to be able to be alone and feel no fear and feel no discomfort from being cut off from other people, you know. And I was just sitting here thinking today, you know, not only with this channel, but in my normal mundane life as normal guy, whatever, regular guy, when I'm not Dr. Zeero, all that. You know, my whole thing has been this outward, I wanted to, like, not necessarily be a pretentious teacher type, but I wanted to teach stuff that I knew because I wanted to help people and I wanted to help them tap into their potential. And I try to find like decent individuals and plant some seeds and start them maybe on a path that makes sense to them. Anything to just motivate them to look into all this shit that I'm talking about, all this magic stuff, occult world, whatever. You want to get someone moving. I don't want to control anyone like a puppet master. I just want to give them maybe the right book at the right time, and then everything from there is all up on them. That's what I tell people, like, read this, check it out. But, the important thing is to take out of it what makes sense to you and apply it to your own personal tradition and your own unique outlook, your own unique path. There's no, you can shoehorn yourself into a tradition and just say, I want to abide by these principles or this, specific paradigm or worldview or something, and you can shoehorn yourself in there. But magic is at its most potent when you can pick and pull from everything that's ever come, and I'm about breaking down those barriers and those walls until everything is one. Everything glues together. Everything corresponds, right? And I feel like traditions are limiting. They're powerful because they give you a framework and they get you moving and motivated and do all kinds of stuff, and they're healthy in that sense. But ultimately, I'm about bucking the traditions and saying your personal unique vision is absolutely what is most important. And that's where I am today after years and years and years of planting seeds and giving stuff out and this and that. And where I'm at, I feel like I'm more alone now than I was maybe at the beginning of my magical journey. Because at the beginning of my magical journey, my head wasn't filled with all this obscure data, which made me divert past from my common man more so than as radically as possible. So, I feel like I don't really have any peers. Well, I mean, I do. I mean, I have peers. There's people around my age or people that I deal with of any age, really. 18 plus. I don't hang out with young people. I like to set, I'll release books, I'll put out videos, I'll make music, all this stuff that could trickle down into the world, but I'm not going to interfere. I feel like that it's like it's a sacred sort of introduction to our world where just hands off, let them do their thing, and then eventually you can start dialogue when they're all grown up, So that much said, there's a lot of people, there's the people that are closest to me in my normal daily life here where I live and all this stuff. There's a lot of good people surrounding me, and I appreciate them. Don't get me wrong. All I'm saying is that, like, I'm in a place that I'm filled with data and passions and obsessions and fixations and such that they are completely not involved in whatsoever. And even the people who really know magic stuff, a lot of them may be more shoehorned into tradition or more shoehorned into certain ways of thinking about it. And a lot of people, not to toot my own horn, but I'm pretty well read as far as this stuff goes. And I've poked my head around every single possible concept, all sorts of deep, obscure information. I have a larger picture of this stuff and as a general whole than the average dude walking down the street. Okay, not saying I'm the ultimate in anything. I'm not trying to be pretentious. I took the time to learn everything I could. And I'm a bit of a librarian with this stuff. I can't memorize everything and spout it out on the exact spot, but I know the concept, and I know where to look, and I know what books, and I know authors, and I know concepts, and I know technology of imagination, technology of information, technology of all kinds that has to do with the inner realm, and I can point anyone in a great direction. So again, when we talk about magical landscapes, if everything is a big magical landscape that your path is going through, I pop up like the Cheshire Cat, and I help lead you on your way. I don't want to govern your mission, okay? Once again. So it's this whole thing of ending up in a corner where you end up, it's a path of a loner. Because even the people that are closest to me and generally understand magic stuff a little bit, the stuff that I'm really talking and interested in, it's like they only have like X amount of data concerning it. So a lot of these are very vague topics. Like there's no one that's lockstep with me, and I have no idea where such a person would even exist at this point. I mean, there's got to be someone out there who understands more what I'm thinking. And the thing is, like, in as far as people I listen to or peers or stuff, or people having similar conversations, I got to go to social media to watch all kinds of videos from all sorts of random disconnected people. And again, people are in their own traditions or their own trajectories, or they have their own worldviews. And the thing with the Magick crowd is that, you know, Magick is about so much of extent. There's the people that are like, kill your ego, and there's people that are like, dramatize and uplift your ego, because that's part of the creation, you know, self-godhood or whatever, self-mastery. Like, the ego is a good thing. Like, you should like water it and let it grow like a fucking flower. And then there's people that are like, no, you have to kill your ego for this mystical experience of oneness in order to transcend blah, 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 blah. And I'm like one of these people who tries to think in both patterns at the same time. What is life with my ego at full, blazingly hot, and what is everything when everything is zero and there's nothing there? So I try to think in both extremes, because again, Magick teaches you to think in duality, and in duality there's harmony. So you gotta like self-godhood, but peon and zero of nothingness with the architect of everything at the same time. And in this seemingly contradictory harmony, you'll find many, 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 many answers. So how do I explain to people that that's like where I'm at all the time? So I was thinking, this sort of loner isolation is something that breeds loneliness in people. But I myself am not lonely. I'm okay with myself, and I understand these are just the pitfalls. And the thing is, my obsession is all this like Magick data and learning all this stuff. It's sort of like the thing that I'm following the most. It's like might become my number one hobby, if you want to call it that. So, you know, and then the game of Magick, which of course I'm obsessed with, because we're all playing a game with each other by proxy of existing. It's all one huge poker game, you know, with an endless set of cards. And I was just thinking about how this sort of loneliness doesn't really affect me as other people. Now, when you're younger and you're hot to trot and you're like a salmon swimming upstream there, it's more important to be physical and social, and you're interested in those sort of, you know, pleasures of the flesh, as they say in some circles, you know. But these sort of desires, they wane with age. And at some point, I'm a person who even before COVID, I just, my brain flipped to a different spot. And then all of a sudden I started to look at like people making out with each other physically was like gross to me. And, you know, going first, second, third base, all the way to the home run grand slam there was pretty gross to me too. So I just stopped. And I went celibate as a priest. And it wasn't like any kind of thing stopping me. I could have continued onward with that path, but it was just grotesque to me. Because it has not only to do with I don't know, sharing energy. I'm very sensitive to energies. When you're into like all this, you know, witchy shit, this magic stuff, you're sensitive to energies and whatnot. So that's what I'm talking about, like magical hygiene. And you got to understand that when you get physical with someone and you're sharing all that psychic goo together, as well as other kinds of goo, you know, it's pretty gross. And you don't want to get like a disgusting maggot-like aura slobbering all over yours, and then you're stuck with the memories of someone you went there with that was exceptionally gross and you didn't know at the time or whatever. I got a pretty good sense of smelling out the gross ones, the bad ones, the evil ones, you know. I'm pretty good at discerning this sort of stuff. But, you know, there were times that I did get involved with bad ideas. But luckily, these bad ideas did not last very long because I was smart enough to realize this is a bad idea. How about no? And I became more and more and more fanatical in discernment. Now I'm just like, physical contact is just kind of gross to me in general. So I've become this celibate priestly figure of the druid sort. And, the sort of companionship that other people are yearning for, I'm not after. I like a conjunction of wits and having synergy with people in mental forms. That's what brings me to my senses and makes me alert and care about things. So, other things I wanted to say with this. Let's talk about how much of a loner Dr. Zeero really is. I want to say, like, the path of Magick is, really intense for people when it comes to loneliness and such. And some people just bail and then they backtrack and they return to whence they came and they said enough is enough. I don't want to be that segregated. And there's wackadoos like the dude you're listening to who went all the way with it and it still keeps going and going and going and going. My trajectory is just leaving the planet. I'm way out there in the cosmic stratosphere. But let's talk about just like mentally, like, okay, so let's tell a story about Dr. Zeero in second grade. So one day I was in second grade and at school, they'd have big tables that they'd pull out of the wall that like all the kids would sit on and eat lunch. And one time I saw this kid got in trouble for like horsing around with some other kid or something. And they made him sit across the aisle at the empty tables that none of the other kids sat at as a punishment. And I said, I want to do that permanently. I'm going to make it happen. So I figured the way to make the school system and everybody hate me the most was pick out the most defenseless, angelic, cutest little blonde girl I could possibly find. And then I just started sprinkling broken donuts into her hair. And then they yelled at me and sat down. And then I came back up to her and I started like throwing my lunch at her and stuff and hitting her with all my stuff. And like all this, then I started throwing food at the other kids and I was throwing pencils at the other kids, this kind of stuff, shouting at people, acting crazy. And then they made me go sit by myself. And they said, now you can go sit with the other kids again. And I went right back and sprinkled more donuts in that little blonde girl's hair and started messing with everybody the next day. And then the next day they brought me back and I attacked everybody again. And then they brought me back and then I attacked everybody again. They said, you have to permanently sit on that side of the fucking auditorium for the rest of this year. So as soon as they made me do that, when I was sitting there alone and all the kids were eating, staring at me like a psychopath, I'd start making fart noises with my hands, like going like really like loud and stuff. And then they made me go sit in the auditorium and eat, like the auditorium where they'd have plays and shit. They segregated me from the students completely. And then they hooked me up with a social worker eventually that they made me go see. And then I was the kid who nobody wanted to fuck with. And I would like get up in class in the middle of the day and just leave as the teachers were having whatever. And I would go hang out in like this science room that was like defunct, that had like a monkey brain embalmed in a jar and like a python snake embalmed in a jar and all these like skeletons and stuff and all these like taxidermied shit and beakers and whatever else, all the chemistry equipment. And I just like hang out there with the snake and the monkey brain having conversations with them. And then I was pretty much cut off from all the other students for about 2 years. They treated me like Hannibal Lecter until my mother kind of figured out what was going on and demanded me to be like societally re-engaged with everybody. And then it didn't really go well after that. I got into a fight at least once, twice, 3 times a week for my entire childhood, not every day sometimes. And the kids knew I was so crazy and volatile that like they wouldn't confront me one-on-one. They would come at me 4 or 5 at a time. So I just got used to like fighting guys 4 or 5 deep. And it went on like this all the way till 8th grade when I met some other kids who were also nutcase loners like me. And we had all been fucked with too long. And then we ganged up together and started beating the shit out of the fucking kids that used to fuck with us. And then they backed off. And then we all went to 9th grade. And then boop, all the kids that we were, fighting and all that stuff, they were too busy trying to like impress the jocks and the juniors and the older crowd, who the jocks would fuck with the younger jocks, all that kind of stuff. So like you're sort of like on probation. That 9th grade year is like very volatile. So yeah, they were too busy sidetracked with shit to pay attention to me. And then I just built an army of psychos. And then one thing leads to another, leads to another, leads to another, leads to another. And like I said, even surrounded by people, I was always a loner. I grew up hard and fast, and I grew up faster than a lot of the other kids. And, by the time I was 18, it was like I was already like 25 or older. By the time I was fucking 25, it was like I was a guy in his fucking 40s. You talk about now, it's like I switch on and off. Sometimes I feel very, very young and childlike. Sometimes I feel like a 60, 70-year-old man. I should be walking around with a cane. It fluctuates. Magic and life experience does that to you. So I think I've had you for long enough. I try not to keep these rants more than 20 minutes because you get bored and tune out. So that's all I'm saying. Like, loner luxury or loner lunacy. The choice is yours. So anyway, have fun, kids. Here's a hot rockin' outro just for you. Later.
Empty hole. I cannot count the bloody cost. I can't believe this wretched soul. Come penetrate all this loss. Come on and kill this sense of life and be the one who is denied. Now show me one more upturned knife and fill the emptiness inside. Be mine, sister, salvation. To join Jezebel is coming for my cremation. Be mine, sister, salvation. Closer now, see the revelation. If I could leave my burning skin that has been used up in your sin, is there a tiny part of me untouched, unsolved by misery? Be mine, sister, salvation. To join Jezebel is coming for my cremation. Be mine, sister, salvation. Closer now, see the revelation. City that will lie. You are the one that blame passed by. This is the place where I will weep the loneliness of sweet conceit. Be mine, sister, salvation. To join Jezebel is coming for my cremation. Be mine, sister, salvation. Closer now, see the revelation. Revelation, 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 see the revelation, the revelation, the revelation, the revelation, the revelation, the revelation, see the revelation. The revelation, the revelation, the revelation, see the revelation, the revelation, the revelation, the revelation, the revelation, the revelation, the revelation. See the revelation.